Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmaswarupine avatara varisthaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha vasudeva sutam devam kamsachanuramarthanam devaki paramanandam krishnam vande jagatgurum. The topic that is chosen today, as you know, is the philosophy of Bhagavadgita. Philosophy of Bhagavadgita for the spiritual life. As I am frequently coming to this auditorium in the recent days either due to the absence of my senior monks or due to their other commitments, and more or less it is happening again and again. If it happens again, I will be speaking on this subject, so I took this subject. Many times the same crowd will not be coming, but people will be watching online, etc. So it's an elaborate subject because Gita consists of 18 chapters, and most of you people know what is Gita, where it is, and if I try to explain those things again, it is superfluous. But I will give a brief introduction about the Gita and then go into the details of what I am trying to tell you about the philosophy of Gita for the spiritual life. In fact, there is nothing like something extra, because the whole book contains the essence of the spiritual practices which are required for the fulfillment of the human destiny. So as you all know that it is a part of Mahabharata. It comes in the Bhishma Parva, the ending Parva. And the battlefield happened for the 18 days. And in the 18th day, on the first day itself, the preaching of Bhagavad Gita happened. And Bhagavad Gita is, in the Mahabharata, the story of the heroes, the story of the Dhiras, and whom we call as the Dhiras, the people having the great strength. We don't call the people who conquer this world, the men who are great in the battlefield, as Dhiras, like the people of the West do. Alexander, Napoleon, they are all great warriors. To them we call as Dhiras, but the Indians, for them, the Dhiras are completely different. Those who go inside their heart and find the truth, those people are called Dhiras. So, these people, they were doing the normal work, yet they were spiritual. People like Bhishma, Drona, etc., etc. Bhishma, Drona, Pramukataha, Sarvetanksha Mahikshinaha. All those warriors, the rulers of this world, were there. And in the midst of them, there were the two great heroes, that is Arjuna and Krishna, and Gita is the conversation between these two people. So, the root of all our scriptures are the Vedas. And what are the Vedas? Mahabharata itself tells, Vedo khilo dharma moolam iti. What is the basis of our dharma? Dharma means the righteousness. What we had to do and what we should not do is called dharma. So what is the source book? Where we have to refer about this dharma is in the Vedas itself. That is why the question asked by Dhritarashtra to Sanjaya is that it opens with the word dharma. So dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yutsavaha yottum ichha yutsavaha. Those people who are ready to battle, they have the desire to do battle. So those people are assembled in front of them. This is preached. That means to say that this is not preached somewhere in the Himalayan cave. It is preached in the midst of the intense activity. The highest spiritual wisdom is given in the battlefield. That's more important. So in the backdrop of the battlefield, this spiritual wisdom is given. So what is the message of Gita to us is that we can practice the spirituality. We can become spiritual. We can go back to our own nature in the midst of our intense activities. We need not have to separate the inside going and the outside activities. It can go simultaneously. So this philosophy of Vedanta is taught here, and in the common life also we can practice the intense spirituality, and this intense spirituality can be converted into the self-realization and also the social work. The aspect of the social work as a spirituality was borrowed from Swami Vivekananda from the Gita itself. The Gita, the Krishna, is the first preacher of Karma Yoga. Then many people followed it, and Swami Vivekananda gave this to this world in a different form, the same form, in a different way, and much more than that. Much more than what Gita offers is offered in the Swami Vivekananda's Karma Yoga, and also he gave the practical Vedanta, a combination of practicing the Upanishadic Vedanta as well as the intense activity. I think this much is enough to go into the details of it. So why we have to read Gita? Gita is a book of practical wisdom, a handbook where we can practice the spirituality even when we are the family people who are committed to our professions and our activities. In the whole creation, animals are there. This whole world is there with so many things are created by the Creator. And in this creation, man is unique being occupying a special niche in nature. As we grow, we become endowed with special facilities. Our own faculties. It will be peculiar and it will be particular to us. We observe everything, we see everything, we learn. There are some interesting things, intrinsic knowledge. As Swami Vivekananda says, the knowledge is already there. So what we receive from the outside world will only perfect that what we have inside. This is how we develop into a proper human being from our childhood to the adulthood. After we gain something, the knowledge, the skill, everything, what we try to do is we try to invest this to the world, into the world, for our own sustenance. So later what we do is, once we grow, we enter into a unique relationship with this world. We will be having our own internal nature, and whenever we interact with our own people or the people outside, we become friends, we become enemies, we become colleagues, everything will start happening. So we will start building our own world. within the huge world. So all these factors shapes us and makes an impact on our existence. And most of the time we will be imposing all these things on ourselves. What happens in this process is we forget our own real self. Our real self is the pure Atman, which is pervading everywhere. We are not limited. We are unlimited. Our Swarupa is completely different from what we are. We think that we develop all these things from our interaction with the world and as well as what we have inside. We build our characters. So what happens in this process is we start moving away from the real self. In the childhood, if you look at a child, it will not be so occupied with the worries, tensions and stress. From where this comes? So it comes afterwards. It comes from the wrong notions that we develop in course of time. This happens usually from our college days and afterwards. So, as A. Hume says, this self is a bundle of perception. So this wrong self or pseudo-self, it perceives so many things, it cognizes so many things and creates a bundle within itself. I am this, I am that. And once we do this exercise again and again, I am this, I am this, I am this, I am that, this is mine, this is theirs, this is ours, all these things happens, and within that one peg develops, one root develops there, and that is the ego. And this ego is not separate, it is in our consciousness. What is consciousness? Initially we can take it as a Jivatma, a separate Atman. We feel we are separate from him, we are separate from them. So it is separate. It has its own separate identity. To this identity, a few other two things are tied. One is the emotion and another is the cognition, the knowledge part of it. So the emotional aspect is taken care of by the mind, and the cognitive aspects are taken care of by the intellect. So these two also adds to this ego. This ego dictates the intellect and the mind. And what we call this as ahankara. Without identifying how this ahankara is functioning in our being, in our character, in our ways, in our lifestyle, we cannot make spiritual progress. So we should know what we are at present. We come to this kind of discourses, we read a lot of books, we try to practice the meditation, and nowadays a lot of people are offering the yoga courses. Short term, long term, deep terms, all that. There are a lot of branding also going on in the name of yoga, meditation, and crash courses. These things will allure like any other products, but they will not help. That is why this Bhagavadgita takes a longer time to take us in the proper path, but it gives an assurance of reaching to that goal. We will not wander here and there because it goes with the life. It goes with the regular actions, day-to-day actions. The day-to-day actions are not separated from the spiritual endeavor. That is more important. So through Gita, we can become pure yogis in the midst of the bustling and busy city streets. So let us go deeper into our own self before we go into the Gita proper. So over this ego, that is now a commander of both mind and intellect, it first identifies itself in a different manner and behaves in a various manners. That is why we see, even though we say that this Atman is one, but separated because of these illusions, why we behave in a unique way? Because this pseudo-identity has become strongly real. It has become strongly real not only in this incarnation, it will be real for several incarnations. We have to become again and again. We have to be born again and again. That is why Nachiketa goes to Yama and asks, what is there after the death? So we have to question the life and we have to question the death also. What is there after the death? So these are all the deeper questions that happens only when the man turns his attention and turns his energy inside. So how to shape this ego? Bhagavad Gita gives a wonderful insight into all these things. So we have to first characterize ourselves, where we are, how wrongly we have developed ourselves, and how we are going into the wrong directions. Retract all those things through our senses only. These senses have made us to go out. That's what the Upanishad says, Paranchikani Vyatranat Swayambhu Tasmat Parang Pashyati Nantaratman. We have gone outside. We have to come inside and see our own self. Sri Ramakrishna refers to the two types of ego in his Kathamrita. One is the Kacha Ami, another is the Paka Ami. That is the Bengali word. I think you people also can understand most of it as same as the Kannada. Kacha means the unripened. Kayi anta heltevalla Kannadalli, that one. And Paka Ami is the ripened. So if you take a mango, unripened mango and ripened mango, ಹಣ್ಣಾಗಿರುವ ಮಾವಿನ ಹಣ್ಣು, ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಾಯಿ, ಮಾವಿನ ಕಾಯಿ. You can take like that. So most of us, we fall into this first category, that is Kachami. So what is the characteristic of this Kachami? It will be impure, it will be weak, it will be selfish, and it will be caught in three gunas. What are all three gunas? Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. These three are the gunas. About this guna he elaborately discusses. Prakruteh kriyamanani gunaih karmani sarvashah ahankara vimudhatma karta hamiti manyate. Several places Krishna discusses this, and this particular sloka gives the crux of all the whole teaching, how this guna acts upon this ahankara. So he is telling Prakruteh kriyamani gunaih karmani sarvashah. Prakriti means the nature of sattva, goodness, rajas, aggressiveness or restlessness, and tamas is stupefied condition. That is a dullness, laziness, lapor. These three things, loathsomeness, these are the gunas. Most of the people are not ready to work also. They want the freebies. Nowadays, the government is also giving the freebies and people wants to do less work and enjoy more. When we come on Sundays, we have to come on Sundays and Saturdays. Those sites, the picnic places like Bannerghatta and all, you will find more traffic than the regular working days because people want to enjoy more than what they want to work. So these are the aspects of tamoguna. Better than tamoguna is rajoguna. That is why Swami Vivekananda says you will be nearer to the heaven by playing football than reading Gita. What he meant is that we should not become tamasic, not that we should not read Gita and play only football. So we have to transform ourselves from Kachami to Pakami. We have to ripen our heart. Our heart should become like a ripened fruit which has some sweet juices, not something which is bitter. So this Pakami will be a purified, unselfish and awakened self. That means to say that this ahankara, the identity, that is what he is telling, vimudhatma kartahamiti manyate. If you are having the wrong identity, what is happening is we are caught by these three meshes or these three ropes called characters. This is the fundamental character of the nature itself. If the nature is acting upon us, we will be in these three gunas. So we should go beyond gunas. Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna. This is also one of the shlokas in the 3rd chapter of Gita. What is the Traigunya Vishaya Veda? There are so many yajnas and yagas in our Veda. By performing them, what we achieve is some heavens or some worlds which are beyond heaven also, which are all pleasurable, more pleasurable. Why we seek such kind of pleasure is, in this earth, the pleasure and pain is mixed. Often, the pain is 99.9% and 0.1% is only pleasure here. That is why in our Kannada, Madale torutade madura vishaya sukha kadeli dukkha aneka. So, in the tip of the iceberg, there is a pleasure and all the other things are salty. So, only person who is a viveki, kaschidhira pratyagatma namaikshat avritta chakshuramritatvam icchan. They are the dhiras, as I mentioned earlier. Who are the warriors for the Westerners? Alexander, Napoleon, such people, Genghis Khan. These people are the great conquerors. For us, the great conquerors are like Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Ramana Maharshi. These people whom we venerate so much, these people we say as the people who are courageous to overcome the temptations of the world. These temptations initially gives the pleasure and drags you down to the hell and misery. So to overcome all these things, Gita gives the input first. First we have to overcome the worldliness, then only we can become spiritual. So how to overcome this worldliness is taught in the Gita. So we think that, I have also the Pakami. It is not so easy to ripen that ego is not so easy. What is the ripening of the ego is making this ourselves as a fit instrument of God. That is called the ripening of the ego. This ripening of the ego comes with the years and years of struggle, maybe births and births of struggle. So once the ego is ripened, it helps for the spiritual progress. To make this ripening happen quickly, Karma Yoga helps. Karma Yoga means yoga in action, yoga in everyday life. This is called Karma Yoga. The Gita preaches the synthesis of yoga. Synthesis of yoga as taught by Swami Vivekananda. What are the 4 yogas? Jnana Yoga, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Raja Yoga. All these 4 things are dealt in the Gita. Gita, out of this the 4, it takes Jnana Yoga first. That is, the knowledge of the Atman is imparted first to the Arjuna, then he follows to preach him the Karma Yoga, the yoga of action. And importantly, when he is preaching the yoga of action, he preaches Buddhi Yoga. If the time permits, I will touch upon the Buddhi Yoga. Otherwise, I may be using it or reserve it for the coming classes. So we had to do action. But before doing the action, we had to know what is the secret of action. Karmano hepi bodhavyam, bodhavyam cha vikarmana, akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gati. Even though action is an essential part of the life, there are some intricacies, there are some problems. That is why Shankara tells us to renounce the action for the sake of the knowledge of self. That is called karma jnana samuchchaya, which is not much endorsed in the Gita, although it is endorsed at several places also. Naishkarima siddhim paramam sanyasena adhigachachi. These things are pure jnana without action. In other places, Gita says, karmanaivahisam siddhim astita janakadayaha. By doing the action alone, they attained the enlightenment. We'll hold on to this aspect initially, then go into jnana. But the order of Gita is that he takes the jnana first, and that is the basis of all our scriptures. First, teach the Atman. Swami Vivekananda also tells, teach about the real self. Then the soul itself evolves into the realization of it, into the enlightenment. Soul has the capacity. We have the capacity. We have the resources in our own nature to realize the self. We need not have to seek anywhere. We can close our eyes and realize now itself. But only thing is, what is inside the mind? The mind stuff is it ready for that? Is it pure? When that question comes, we have to get into the action, which is like a cleanser, which is like a detergent which cleanses the fabric of our mind. After cleansing, if you seek the self will gives up its secret itself. That is why Yamaivesha Runute Tena Labhyaha, Mundaka Upanishad says. It selects, the Atman selects a particular person, then it lifts. So how to get selected to that Supreme Atman or the Supreme God is by doing the action and purifying oneself. So we should not let this ego to get into the false identification. Once you get the knowledge, the spiritual knowledge, not only this, whatever I have told in this discourse, you might have studied so many things. You bring out all those things into your mind and try to analyze your own ego, your own self, whatever you are feeling about your own self. So what happens initially when I say I, immediately what happens? By nature, by instinct, what we do? We identify ourselves with this body. That is the first thing. And this identification of the body will not be so much when we are small children, that small boy coming inside. When we are small, we are not so much identified with body. This identification with the body starts when we become adolescent, when we grow into youngsters. We start identifying our body, we start feeling our body and looking at the body. Affinity and affection starts developing in that stage. This makes us to forget the inner beauty. So there is a beautiful story of this in the Chandogya Upanishads, in the 8th Adhyaya, where Indra and Virochana, Indra is the god and Virochana is a demon, both go to Prajapati to seek the knowledge of the self. So Prajapati asks both of them, well, you have come to seek the knowledge of the self, go to the pond and see your reflection and come back. So both of them go there and see their own reflection. So once Virochana sees his own reflection, he thinks that this body is Atman. What Prajapati told, what the Guru told is, see, the reflection, he sees his reflection and thinks that is body and he goes back. But Indra doesn't stand there, doesn't get satisfied there. He goes back to Prajapati and starts asking the questions one by one. He asks several questions. He had to stay for around 96 years under the Guru to get the knowledge of Atman. He makes him to do tapas for several period of time. Finally he gives the knowledge. But this person, like us, thinks that I am body and he goes away. So this is the root cause and the fundamental cause of all the miseries that we experience. That is the fundamental identification with the body. After once we identified with our body, we identify ourselves with the mind. When we identify with the ego. All these three things act together and body has a greater component to pull us down to this world. According to Plato's theory of ideas, there is a model of perfection in the God's mind. They call it as logos, all that, the principle, Greek principle, Plato and Aristotle, I think you may already know it. Conformity to this model is beauty. This is what the Plato says. So if you want to say I am beautiful, you must be able to reflect the beauty of God within yourself. Then only there is a right meaning for the beauty. Otherwise it is the commonly practiced or commonly in the air of the world that the beauty means the beauty of the body. And the people who are more beautiful, they become nowadays the celebrities. So if you look at Mahabharata and Bhagavata, who is the center person in these two epics, in these two scriptures, is Krishna himself. So Krishna is the embodiment of the beauty. He is, the Bhagavata says, Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. He himself. In all the other avatars, he came with the fractions, like Matsya Avatara, Kurma Avatara, even in Rama Avatara, he came in fractions. But in this particular incarnation, he came with the full force of Narayana. With all what they call 116, they call it is called Kala. It's called Shodasha Kala. All 16 parts he brought down. That is why the Bhagavata says he's the full God himself. Krishnastu Bhagavan Swayam. So that divine beauty with which he was he manifested himself as an incarnation of God on the earth is different from the human beauty. The beauty of the flesh and skin is completely different from what the beauty he exuded when he was here moving on the earth. That's why Gita Govindam says, Adharam Madhuram, Vachanam Madhuram, Vadanam Madhuram, Nayanam Madhuram, Hasitam Madhuram, Hrudayam Madhuram, Gamanam Madhuram, Madharadipate, Akhilam Madhuram. Every movement, every parts of the body is beauty. That is the divine beauty. So when this is the physical divine beauty of the great God Krishna, when he opens his mouth, Vachanam Madhuram, Charitam Madhuram, Vasanam Madhuram, Sarvam Madhuram. Everything, his physical, his mental, his preachings, and everything, his demeanor, everything is a beauty, the expression of beauty, expression of power, and expression of bliss. So when the Krishna is there, the bliss will automatically dawn upon that place. And when Krishna is absent, the gopis become restless. This is the devotion that is taught, that viraha. That is why Sri Ramakrishna also says, Bhakti sarpasas jnana, because there is a rasa in that. That is why in the Bhagavata, Pibatam alayam rasamalayam muraho rasikaha bhavibhavikaha. There is a nectar. Bhagavata is called the nectar, Amrita. So this is the Amrita of God in the form of supreme knowledge poured into the ears of Arjuna. Now, we will try to go a little into the second chapter of the Gita and find out what he says here. When Arjuna enters into the battlefield, in the first chapter of the Gita, he sees his own friends, relatives, more of his relatives, and especially those whom he venerated so much. They are Bhishma Drona. Bhishma Drona Pramukrutaha Sarvetangksha Mahikshitam. Then Krishna asks him to see them. Uvacha Partha Pashyaitam Samavetam Kuruniti. See who are all the enemies, who are all the foes standing opposite to you. You just analyze the situation in the battlefield. You mentally prepare what kind of weapons you have to use, how to administer your own army. He is the supreme commander of that army, so he has to do all that. But as soon as he sees those people, he trembles. He becomes a sort of a sane person, forgets his real nature that he is a Kshatriya. He is supposed to protect the dharma. He should stand front, take the responsibility, and immediately get into the action. Instead of that, he says, let me go back and do some begging, bhakshacharyam. I will go and become a sannyasi. These things he doesn't speak in the fitness of the things. He is not speaking properly. So Krishna's intention was not there to teach anything about this gospel of the Atman at all. He was there, ensure that the Arjuna will do the battle. Without him, the Pandavas gets defeated. But he doesn't stop there. At the end of the first chapter also, he is still lamenting. Then he admonishes him, why you are lamenting? Kutastva kashmala vidam vishame samupastitam anarajishtam aswargyam akirtikaram Arjuna. You should not have done this. Come on, get up. Start doing the battle. Start waging the war. Start throwing the arrows and missiles. But this person doesn't stop there. So he again and again asks him to release him from the work and asks him to I will retire myself to the forest. This was the condition of the Arjuna, a dilemma, whether we had to do work or we should not do work. We do not get into the work because there will be problems. The consequences will be grave. We do not know whether we will be successful or unsuccessful. Whether they will win the battle or whether we will win the battle, all this question comes to Arjuna's mind. And so many things he says, Sankaro narakaya eva, kulagnanam kulasya, so many things which are not at all required, he starts speaking about it. Then Sri Krishna decides to give the highest dose. Highest dose is the greatest knowledge of the Atman itself. That is how he opens his teachings in the Gita. The very first sloka of the real teaching of Krishna comes in the 11th sloka of the second chapter. That is Ashocha nanvashochastvam pragnavadangscha vashase gata suna gata sungsha nanushochanti panditaha. You are lamenting for the people whom you should not lament. Why? You are seeing them as the body. Bhishma, Drona, others die because of me. Do you think that they die? No. You are seeing only the body. You are not seeing the Atman. The Atman, how the Atman is. Dehinosmin yatha dehe kaumarai yavvananjara tata dehantara prapti dhiras tatra namuhyati. Again he is bringing the word dhira, which I told you in the beginning of my lecture. Dhira is the person who sees the Atman. How this Atman is? Atman is just like how in a body one child grows into an youngster into the old man dies. Kaumare yavvanan jara, the old age, and finally death. Tata dehantara prapti, from one body this Atman moves to the other. Vasam sijirnani yatha vihaya namani grunnati naroparani. Just like we remove the worn out clothes and take the new clothes and put them, so also this Atman removes this old cloth like the serpent and puts on the new cloth. So these things you have to first know. That is the supreme knowledge of the self. So first, in the first 12-13 slokas, he gives the highest Upanishadic knowledge. That is what is called Bhuma Vidya in Chandogya Upanishad. It is the dialogue between Narada and Sanat Kumara. Sanat Kumara teaches Narada about the Bhuma Vidya. The same thing is taught here, not only in that place, in the Upanishads, there are several places where the Atma Vidya is given to the Shishya. It is a dialogue between the Guru Shishya Samvada. It is always goes in all the Upanishads like that. In many Upanishads it is told again and again. In Yajnavalkya also, Atma va are shrotavyo mantavyo nididhyasitavyaha. We have to contemplate on the Atman again and again, shrotavyo, mantavyo, nididhyasya. We have to first hear that. After hearing that, we have to understand that. After understanding that, we have to meditate on that Atman. So first you do that. Whatever I am telling is the highest knowledge. This Atman cannot be destroyed at all. Nainan chindanti shastrani, nainan dahati pavakaha. Nachainam kledayantyapo nashochayati marutaha. You cannot cut this Atman. You cannot burn it. You cannot soak it. And you cannot dry it. All these are the characteristics of the objects that are related in the world, what we see, what we perceive. But Atman is beyond perceptions. Avang manasagochara. You are that. They are also that. So if you kill them, they will become better person. Now Bhishma and Drona are caught because of some wrong notions under the wicked people. They are doing the services to a person like Duryodhana. Do you think it is correct? Do you think the people who witnessed the Draupadi's incident are fit to be a people to live on the earth in the same body and to continue this in the same way? No. You are not seeing the things beyond. So try to analyze the situation and overcome your weaknesses. Many times we have the desires, we have the lust, we have so many things, and we try to cover it up with a non-action. It is better to convert all those weaknesses, tell it openly, come out truthfully, and do actions and get out of that. That's why Krishna says in other places also, without action one should not live. Karmendriyani samyamya yaste manasa smaran indriyarthan vimudatma mityacharasya uchyate. The person who has so much of the desires suppressed, which cannot be fulfilled, he will be again and again bringing to his mind, trying to enjoy that. He cannot enjoy outside, he cannot earn those things outside, but inside he will be enjoying, because he is not capable to earn them. But he will be exhibiting himself as a gentleman. In Bengal they call them as Bhadralok, gentleman. But inside he is hollow, like a bamboo. So those people are called Mityacharis, the people who are showing the wrong picture to this world, that I am a sane person, I am a pious person. Many times it happens. So it is better to do the actions, better to expose your mind to yourself and cleanse it. So this is the highest knowledge that I am giving. Suppose if you cannot grasp this, then at least you do your own kshatriya dharma. Do that. Swadharma pivchavekshana vikampitu marhasi dharmya diddat shreyana kshatriyasya na vidyate. If you cannot grasp the knowledge of Atman, at least take the responsibility as a person, as a human being, as a person who is more responsible in the society. You are supposed to act now as a kshatriya. It is your swadharma to protect the people, to protect the innocent, and to kill the people who are murderers, killers, the people who are wicked. If we adopt this concept to this day, then many problems that are there in our country and society will be solved. But we are not doing that. We are not following the teachings of Krishna, hence we are suffering today. After preaching all that, he is encouraging him to go to the battlefield, even though if he cannot grasp the supreme knowledge. Bhaya dranado paratam mamsyante tvam maharataha. Suppose if you go back, if you retreat, people will laugh at you. Arjuna did like this. You are the greatest hero in this world living today, and when you go back, those people whom you don't like will start laughing at you. This is also an important aspect, no? When somebody who is not capable of coming to our level, if they laugh at us because we do not perform our action, it is better to die than to digest all those things. Hato va prapsasi swargam jitva va bokshasamikim. Suppose if you cannot win against them, you will go to heaven. Suppose you win against them, you will enjoy this earth. So in both the cases, you have a lot of benefit. So it is better you go for the battlefield. So this is how he brings him to the real essence of the Gita, is he prepares him to the battlefield. He is ready to go for the battlefield. Of course, the teaching of the Bhagavad-Gita ends in the second chapter itself. But he again takes a new question, because he is more attracted to the Atma Jnana than to the Karma Yoga. In the third chapter, in the very first sloka, he asks, Jayasi Shet Karmanaste Mata Buddhir Janardana Tatkin Karmani Gorema Niyojayasi Keshava. Krishna was not ready to extend this teaching beyond the second chapter. Esha Brahmi Stitit Partha. He ended the second chapter. This is Brahmi Sthiti. This is the supreme status of the mind. But again he asks this question, so the Gita gets extended to the 18th chapter. So the structure of the Gita is that it is divided into the three components. First 6 chapters, then the second middle 6 chapters, and the third and ending final 6 chapters. That means 1 to 6, 7 to 12, 13 to 18. So the first 6 chapters mainly deals with the knowledge of Atman. And combined with the knowledge of action. How we have to do work. With the spiritual perspective, with this knowledge of the Atman, we have to get into the work. This is what Sri Ramakrishna also teaches. First, rub your hand with the oil. Then open the jackfruit. If you do not rub the oil and open the jackfruit, all those glue will get stuck to your hand. You cannot do anything. So what is this oil? Is the oil of knowledge of Atman. First know yourself and then jump into this world. Another example he gives is that suppose you have gone to some other city, first you find out a chowdhury, a lodge. Keep your all luggages there, take a bath, and then go for a walk to the city to find out what is there in that road, what is there in this place. Without keeping your luggage somewhere, if you go on and on, it will be a burden. So what is that keeping the luggage there? Is first rest yourself in your Atman. So simple, so beautiful. So first he will impart the knowledge. Once he gives the knowledge, he now gives the inputs, the instructions, what should be our attitude, what should be our mental state when we are doing the work. With the knowledge of Atman, how we have to use this knowledge of Atman in day-to-day activity and in day-to-day living. Even when we are dealing with our own friends, relatives, you can apply this knowledge. When we are working, we can apply this knowledge. When we are depressed, we can apply this knowledge. Everywhere we can apply this knowledge. So first he gave the tonic, the medicine for this bhavaroga, and then he is prompting him to the action. So the important thing, what the person gains by knowing the self, he will become detached from this world, because the Atman is different from this world. Vasamsi jirinani yata vihaya. So we are different from this world. The first knowledge dawns. Now we have to do the work. How do we do this work? Brahmana adaya karmani sangam tyaktva karoti yaha. Brahmani adhaya karmani. Take the support of this Brahman itself. Be there. Your root should be established firmly in the knowledge of Atman. Then you will be doing actions without getting attached to that. Sangha. This Sangha is something like a glue, a paste, which comes and makes us to get stuck. There is a beautiful story that something like a blanket, a black thing is moving in the midst of the river. Two friends are sitting, and that is a cold winter, and in the morning that blanket like thing is flowing. So one of the friends says, I will go and drag that blanket, take it, so that we can dry it today and use it in the night. So this fellow goes in the middle and he has started moving the blanket, and another friend is calling, take it and come back, take it and come back. Then this fellow is saying, no, that blanket is not leaving me. That was not a blanket, it was a bear, a karadi. It held him. So we do this. Once we know that I am the Supreme Brahman, it is superficial knowledge, not that knowledge which Ramakrishna Paramahamsa or Vivekananda gave. In the initial stage, it is an intellectual understanding of the that we are Atman. With that only we have to operate. When we operate this word, we should be detached. We should rub our hand with the oil of knowledge always. We should be alert. When we become alert, then our mind splits into two. One is contemplating I am Atman, I am Atman, I am Atman. Another part will go and do other activities. And this part, which is holding on to the Atman, guides this. It's a slow process, but it is definitely this is the only way we have to get rid of this. Lipyate nasa papena padmapatra mivambasa. Padmapatra mivambasa means a leaf of the lotus. This is something like a plastic which doesn't get wet, soaked. So when we are in this water of this word, in the middle of this word, but yet we are not touched by it. This is how we should live in this world. Lipyate nasapapena, he is telling, because he is afraid of sin. He is afraid of sin, of killing his own guru, Bhishma Pitamaha, etc., etc. All this is coming. So when you are doing the action for the sake of action, even the killing will not incur this sin. That is what Krishna is trying to tell here. This is how he gives insight into the life. Krishna, in every shloka, he gives an insight into the every way that we had to conduct ourselves. So after telling this in this 39th shloka, he says, Esha tebita sankhya. Sankhya means jnana yoga. How many of you have heard of Shaddarshana? I do not know. Sankhya is one of the darshanas. And Sankhya mentioned in here is not that Sankhya. That Sankhya is called Kapila Sankhya. This Sankhya is the jnana that he imparted. Ashocha, Ananda, Shochastum, Prajnavada, Chapashasi. From that shloka, that is Sankhya. Buddhir yoge tvimam shrunu. Now I am going to teach the Karma Yoga, which is called Buddhi Yoga. Buddhi means Viveka Buddhi. Atmanatma Viveka is the Buddhi Yoga here. What is Atma? What is Anatma? What is self? And what is non-self? That is called Tattvamasi in the one of the Mahavakyas, which comes in Chandogya Upanishad. That is what is told in the Adhyasavashya of Shankara also. Yushmat asmat pratyaya gocharayoho. Yushmat means this word. Asmat means the real self. Once this knowledge dawns into you, after that, now I will show you how to do the work. Once you get this knowledge, there won't be any problems. You will not get into the sin. Neha abhikramanashosti pratyavayona vidyate salpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Another 1 minute I will take and close. It is already time. So, what happens is, once you get this knowledge, you will not have any problems. Even you will not incur any sin. You will not having any doubt whether I did correctly or wrong. Whether these actions and the result of it, this karma phala, will take me to the spiritual path. All these things what we are doing now. We are doing all these things for our spiritual elevation. We are not doing the work for the sake of work. We are not reading the Upanishads for the sake of reading the Upanishads. Everything is to achieve our goal. As Sri Ramakrishna says, the purpose of the human life is to realize God. So all these things we are doing for the sake of realizing God. We are not doing the work for the sake of work. We are doing the work for the sake of work to realize God. Karmanyevadikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana ityadi, all these things are there, but behind that karma yoga, we are doing everything for this realization of God. Prayojanam anuddishya mandopi na pravartate. We do it to realize our own self. So that we should not forget. Again and again he is coming to the aspects of pratyavaya, sin, all these things is to remove the doubt. In the 11th chapter, when he shows him the Vishwarupa Darshana, Dronancha Bhishmancha Jayadratancha Karnam Tata Anyana Yodhaviran Mayaivete Nihata Purvameva Nimitta Matro Bhavasavya Sachin. He enters into the realm of Bhakti Yoga and assures his disciple or his follower, his friend, everything is Arjuna, that all that sin of killing those people I have taken. You are my devotee, I have taken. Don't worry. You do nimitta matra bhavasavya sachin. I have already killed them. You just throw the arrow, shoot the arrow, they will just fall. So this is what Sri Krishna assures once we follow his teachings of Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga and Raja Yoga. This lecture is only an introduction to the various fabrics and aspects of the teachings of Bhagavadgita, which has the wonderful role to play. And there are many bhashyas, commentaries written on it. The famous commentary is of course always from the Shankara, from the Advaita point of view. Ramanuja also has written the Gita bhashya, which is also wonderful from the aspect of Supreme Brahman, that is the God Narayana himself, and other aspects as the Jivatma. That comes in the 13th chapter, Kshetra Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. The classification in the Ramanuja Bhashya is also very good. And there are so many commentaries on that. Sridhara Bhashya is there, Gudartha Deepika of Madhusudana Saraswati is there. All are very useful. So there are inexhaustive work on Gita in the olden days, and it is inexhaustible resource as great scriptural book for each and every human being, be in our own land or anywhere in the world. Everybody must read Gita and adopt it in their life. Hope Sri Krishna gives his blessings and power to practice what is told in Gita. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.